Hey guys, Chickadee Maine, aka Daboo.com with the Daboo.com surf forecast update. This forecast update effective around 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturday, May 10th, 2014. And guys, if you go back and look at our last 4 or 5 posts, we've been pretty much spot on. Models are starting to trend on wanting to light the Atlantic up. That would lead to some increasing surf conditions. We'll show you that in the upcoming forecast. But here's what we've been looking at. The last couple of days, we've just watched 90E investigate over here in the East Pacific, move towards the Mexican coast. A lot of times when you get these low pressure systems that are along the Mexican coast, when they move ashore, they break apart and the remnants can sometimes drift into the Bay of Campeche. It typically needs to occur right here where the land is the thinnest, this little strip of land in here. But 90E Investigate moved into the Mexican coast a little bit towards the north. Models already hinting at another area of low pressure now developing in the East Pacific, and we could be looking at the same scenario coming up in the extended forecast. We've got a front that's draped across the Gulf of Mexico that's just moving off towards the east, and we now have an upper level low feature sitting over Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. Now this upper level low feature is forecast to retrograde back towards the Florida coast over the next several days, and it's possible that we could see a surface low develop in the Bahamas. Models have been on again, off again. They are currently trending towards the negative on that, but this is going to bear watching. Either way, any tightening of this feature as it starts to move towards the Bahamas could increase a nice east-southeast wind fetch that will lead to larger surf conditions than what your other surf forecast websites are currently showing you. We'll watch that in real time as this develops over the next 72 hours or so stay tuned in for that. Additionally, in the extended forecast, models are starting to hint now that an area of low pressure is going to develop southwest of the Azores that could provide Puerto Rico, Hispaniola, and the Bahamas with a nice northeast groundswell setting up in the extended forecast. We'll show you that in the model runs. Here's the latest visible satellite imagery now showing you right over Puerto Rico this upper level feature. Convection fired up last night with this, expected to wane a little bit today and weaken, but then try and make a little comeback as it starts to pass near the Mona Passage on its way into the Bahamas. Looking at the infrared satellite rainbow imagery showing you that there's some modest convection that's fired up this morning. It was a little heavier last night, but this bears watching in here, guys, as we could lead to, never rule out, this could lead to some surf alert conditions along the southeast coast coming up. So here's what last night's model run is showing to us. This is for Sunday, depicting the area of low pressure over here over Puerto Rico and near Hispaniola. Over in the Gulf of Mexico, we're still dealing with that southerly suck-up swell, and there's a possibility that going into tomorrow, the gradient can tighten up just a little bit and give you a little bit stronger bump than what you're seeing right now. The forecast will just have to verify that out over the next 24 hours. But moving you into Monday, you can see that the area of low pressure now is on the move near the Mona Passage and on its way to the Bahamas. Here, this is Tuesday going into Wednesday. The GFS kind of tears it apart a little bit, and that's where the trend has been over the last 24 to 48 hours. So, prior to that, it was showing a little bit stronger area of low pressure. We're just going to have to watch to see how it organizes. But here down in the East Pacific, here on Wednesday, already showing the possibility of the next tropical depression that could form in here, which would be May 14th, one day away from the official start date of the 2014 hurricane season. Moving you into Thursday, we're going to be watching out here towards the north central Atlantic for an area of low pressure that's going to try and develop southwest of the Azores that could produce a nice northeast groundswell in here towards the Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, Hispaniola, and the Bahamas. And then here again is this area of low pressure. Now, one thing to note here about this area of low pressure in the Bahamas is that a few runs ago, models wanted to drop it in the Bahamas and let it stall there. That is a possibility, guys. It's that time of year. So we'll be watching for that in the next model runs as well to see if they trend back in on that. Moving you out to Friday of next week, the GFS lifts the area of low pressure off the southeast coast now and then starts to develop a strong southerly flow in here off the mid-Atlantic aimed in here towards Maine and Nova Scotia. The gradient really starts to tighten up here. And then also here comes this low pressure southwest of the Azores coming together now. And look at the gradient starting to tighten up in here with this low pressure. That's northeast winds, 20, 25 knots, probably gusting to near 40 as this area of low pressure starts to deepen. Puerto Rico, Hispaniola, and the Bahamas is right here. That's perfect fetch. Strong southerly suck up now in here off the northeast coast, and then moving you into Saturday. Again, the area of low pressure just sits there and starts to strengthen a little bit. Watch this now as it comes together. And then notice how it wants to throw a little right-hand curve in there. That's throwing positive energy towards the islands. That's all we got for you now, guys. Stay tuned for the next update.